I'm here where endless meets the end. Do you see me? I'm hidden here again. Your whispers found its way, calling me to stay. I'm standing at the edge, but something always brings me back. All the voices in my head reminding me of what I had. If I fall tonight, you can bring me back to life. If I fall tonight, Now they see me, and I'll never be the same. Your whispers found its light, calling me to stay.
not leave me. I love you. I hate you. I love you.
I hate you.
I love you. Hate you. Love you. Love you. Love you. Hate you. Love you. Hate you. Love you. Hate. 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 If you leave, I will. Better yet, I will kill you. 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 Kill you.
You can take your time. You can choose your words. Let me down real easy. Let me down real easy. Well, I'm doing just fine because I caught your lies. You say I'ma let you speak. Let my silence reach. Babe, I'm real quiet.
Let me know if you can hear me over the music. So yeah, this is a bunch of, let's see, all these libraries. So there's a bunch of model assemblies. Those are like the DTOs between client server. A bunch of web services here, and they provide stuff like, you know, token-based authentication, server selection, and then there's like the game server, but not the one that you actually run the physics simulation stuff on. It's more like non-real-time stuff. Right now it just deals with character creation and like session stuff. Then there's service discovery, which might get replaced at some point. And the idea was to create something that was scalable, so that you could just throw up, for example, you could just throw this game server on a EC2 instance on Amazon, and you know, if you had a large amount of traffic, you could have 20 of them running and they'd all work. So it's being designed with like that in mind, which, I don't know, that's what a lot of other MMOs have been doing lately. They've been doing, you know, the non-real-time simulation stuff, like your movement and stuff, over HTTP, like on cloud stuff. But you know, stuff like casting spells, moving, still goes over UDP or TCP, stuff like that, on a totally separate instance. So that's what I'm doing right now, and it's not for any particular game, but it's going to be for an MMO at some point. I have no idea what I'm going to work on. But all this stuff's got to exist. It's all sort of basic boilerplate sort of stuff. You know, you got to authenticate, you got to pick servers, you know, you got to create a session and stuff like that. I'm working on that. Also, I didn't know Unet had added interest. I've never used Unet. The last time I used anything in Unity for networking from Unity themselves was back at Unity 4.x. It was like the old version of stuff. But yeah, even if you if you want to take a look, well, I don't know where you could look at it, but even World of Warcraft used to just run a single server. Used to just run on a server blade, and they'd be separate processes. Or be Kalimdor was one process, Eastern Kingdoms was another, and they had like a chat and a couple other services, and then instances were separate. So they were able to do it, and if Trinity Core, which is an emulator for World of Warcraft, is anything to go by, they use tile-based interest management, which gives you a lot of benefits for a few reasons. So they just slice the world up into tiles. I think it also mirrors how they do their terrain, the EDT terrain, and you know, you only receive information from the tile that you're in or nearby tiles. I don't know exactly how far it goes out. I think that's how Trinity Core does it. I assume that's how Blizzard does it too, but I guess it's possible they don't do that. Oh, you're an artist. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, I'm not working. There's no like art or anything. It's just gonna work on the networking. Same thing I did with the Phantasy Star Online project, which just work on the networking only. Because if it doesn't get past that, then it can't really go anywhere else. So that's what I'm doing right now. Right now, this is taking a while to try to figure out how do we create sessions without allowing people to create multiple sessions and run a character multiple times on different instances, or log into an account and use multiple characters from the account, log in at once. And I can tell there's already at least one race condition, which I don't have a fix for yet, but that's what I'm working on right now. Oh man, I gotta create a constructor for this. Do I need the account ID? It sucks that you can't just grab the account ID from another row. Definitely feels like a duplication of data. I don't know how to normalize that properly. Database is not my strong suit. Should probably default to false. Well, but there are like people who are cheating and botting could potentially abuse the API like that, because you would never experience this in like a typical scenario. You'd have to be doing something cheating wise, and like I said, there's a few holes in it right now, so it's not like you could do something bad. Like, imagine you selected a character to play and it enters the world, but then you also sent a request at the same time to enter the world on another character. So they both be temporarily unclaimed sessions. But, yeah, actually I don't think it's possible now that I'm thinking about it, because database constraints. There's a uniqueness for account ID too, so yeah, it's probably not possible. Yeah, I'm probably just worrying too much. I think it works. But yeah, the goal is to just make sure you can't log in with the same character multiple times. That'd be bad. And there's several layers that you can check that at. You can check that in session creation time, and then also on the instance or zone server that you connect to. You just don't allow multiple people with the same character ID to enter. And if you can't create a session with the same account ID in the character session, let me show you. It's not a complicated schema. If you can't have an entry with the same character ID or the same account ID, so that'll fail. So I think it's good. I think you can't enter the world multiple times or with the character on the same account twice or something, like character A, character B on the same account. As for interest management, for a while, I'm gonna open up Paint real quick. Now, there's a lot of different algorithms for it, and there's some academic papers out there that describe a lot of different techniques. There's one where no, let's I don't use fucking Paint so much. Is there a shape? Yeah, we'll use a shape. Okay, we'll pretend these are... We'll pretend that these squares are players. And we got some players over here. Now, a popular technique is to draw a bubble, essentially, like a radius from the entity. Then you have like a circle. I'm not very good at drawing circles. And so everything in that little bubble or radius, you're interested in the entity, so you subscribe to updates for it, or however you want to create the system. And that seems like it's a good idea, and as it moves around, you recompute it. You recompute the list of entities that you're interested in or whatever. But recently I found that doesn't work so well. For example, over here, you have might be interested in these, or whatever. And so this little guy over here doesn't receive messages about this stuff over here. But this kind of doesn't work so well because each individual player will have a unique stream of data, and for each player you need to create a unique stream of packaging all the events, all the data, all the diffs of stuff that's happened, like the game state, and send it to them, because each one is unique. because they all see a different slice of the world, because they all have different radius. And this doesn't demonstrate it that well, but you can see that this person over here sees something much different than this person over here. And one way to solve that is to use tiles. Hang on, bear with me as I try to create these. And you lose a lot of fine-grained control of sort of like the optimization that you'd get, because they'll probably be seeing more than they need to. But the benefit is, hang on, let me draw these out and it'll make more sense. Okay, well, so we got little players in here. They're all in these tiles. So the idea is you wouldn't want to have these tiles super large, because what you want to do is, for example, we'll call this tile A. Oh no, it's supposed to be text. This is a lot longer than I thought to explain this. So tile A is going to send the information from all nearest neighbor tiles to everyone in tile A. Now that might seem like a lot, but these are supposed to be small and there shouldn't be many people in them. And what that does is it makes it so that the data streams are constant. You only have to create, like for example, you have to create 1, 2, 3, you know, 1 for each little tile. So you generate anytime you want to update, maybe your tick rate's 10 Hertz. So you just generate a you generate the packet once, you serialize it once, and then you broadcast it to anyone who's interested in the tile. And so instead of having like hundreds and hundreds of unique data streams, now you only have data streams for tiles. And in fact, you'll have these tiles over here where nobody's interested in them, so you don't even create a data stream. You don't send it to anybody. And so instead of having your data streams per player and then scale, so if you have like a couple hundred people spread out between, you know, your tiles and stuff, it's only done per tile. So you might receive, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you take those 8, you pack them together, and you send them to everyone in here. So the streams are more constant, I guess. So that's my thinking, at least. That's why I'm leaning more towards a tile-based interest approach. Oh yeah. There's also Plane Shift, if you want to check that out. That's open source. So you get the benefit of interest, where you don't have to see events from tiles that you aren't interested in. Like this red guy doesn't receive updates from these people. But also for the tile that he's in, and you could make it so that it's just per tile, then you only receive one. Everyone receives one data stream. You generate it, you serialize it, you broadcast it to everyone instead of unique. Or you can do nearest neighbor, which is a lot more complex, I think, and you have to send several more packets, and then it's not as simple. So I think if you make a little bit larger tile, you know, you can send a single data stream. But the issue is when you get to the edges, so that's why I think you need this nearest neighbor thing. So you have to send this whole little box. You know, you could, yeah. So that's my thoughts. You only have to generate it once instead of, you know, computing the diff for every player, then serializing it, then sending it. You just have to compute the diff for every tile. And then, depending on what they want, you can concatenate those bytes efficiently. There's ways to do that together, and then send them that. That's the idea there. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with the tile-based approach, because, you know, if you have to do a tick rate of 10 Hertz or 20 Hertz, you know, that's 20 times a second. 20 times a second. If you have 1,000 players, you don't want to have to check every single player, send them updates about the game with unique data. You don't want to have to look at each individual player and tell them, okay, what should you see if you do it at a tile level, you can skip tiles. Most tiles will probably be empty in your game unless it's super popular and there's thousands and thousands of players all there. And so you only have to do live tiles, and you can send the data. The data is more predictable. You just go through all the tiles. It's constant. You compute the diff for all the tiles, and then you send it to each player in the tile, and you don't have to serialize it multiple times. You know, you just broadcast it to every player. It's a lot less garbage. You don't have to generate 1,000 unique byte arrays and serialize and all this, you know, garbage collection or whatever. It's predictable, mostly. You know, you just generate a diff for each tile, and the players in here, you want to get the, you know, you slap these chunks on together, send it to everyone here, and then you do that for each tile, instead of, you know, looking at each person, like I was saying, trying to determine, you know, what do we need to update them on, and then sending a unique data stream to them, and then going to the next person. You know, I'm thinking it's gonna be better. You know, have a profile in it. We'll see. That's the idea. That's the idea. There's a lot of different. There's like a lot of papers out there that describe different ways of doing it. But this is what Trinity Court uses. They use a tile-based system. I'm pretty sure this is what Blizzard uses as well. I hope it works. And it would be really nice if you could just do one tile, but it just won't work because if you get towards the edge of any of them, you know, you won't see someone who's standing right here when you're right here. So I think it has to be nearest neighbor, or it has to be at least whichever side you're closest to. So if you're standing over here, maybe you need to see this tile, and this tile. I don't know. But yeah, that's the idea. Alternatively, you can go with the radius or nimbus or bubble or radius of interest approach. There's lots of different names for it. Life is futile. Oh, do you have a link to that? We can take a look at what they're doing. Is there information on that somewhere? Ah, okay. Yeah, so maybe they are doing it for the same reasons. It would be interesting to know if that's, you know, why they came to that conclusion. It might also be simpler. You know, if you enter a tile, you know, that's an event that you send to everybody in the update loop, essentially. It's a lot easier to compute, I guess, because you don't really compute anything. You can even, you know, with Unity, you can even use the triggers, which I wouldn't recommend. You can more efficiently check whether or not you're within the bounds of something with just math, but triggers also work. So you can do a high level like that with physics triggers in Unity as well. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but I think the most important reason is you're sending you generate a constant number of streams, and sometimes even less because tiles might be asleep, I guess. And I think it's a lot easier that way. The only issue is then if you have like distance-based stuff like stealth, you know, like if you should be able to see someone but other people should, then it kind of I don't know how you do that. So yeah, if you can talk to them, it would be interesting to know why they've taken that approach. I'm sure there's several reasons. Alright, so we're gonna go back to this. So right now everything's not handled, you know. We're not doing it based on their save location, even though there's a table for that. Which, is character ID, you know, the position and zone type. Now, the way that it works is, if they're in like a dungeon that's transient, it could go away, they'll actually have an inactive session and they can rejoin it at any time they log in again. But if they don't have in a session, then you can check and see where they were. And there's zone types. There's transient, which is like anything that can go away, and then there's static stuff, like the open world stuff. And that's where you'd get this information of where they are in the world and what zone to send them to. But we're not doing that right now because I want to, you know, get into the game, whatever the game's going to be, as soon as possible. But yeah, don't let me sway you because I've not implemented the tile-based approach, but that's what I'm feeling right now. It just seems a lot easier than maintaining, you know, because every like second or so you'd have to. Oh no, I didn't know. I've not kept up with too many games, but I haven't played too many games lately. Torque 3D. I've heard of that, but I didn't. Is it free? Pretty sure I've heard of this before. Okay, it's open source now. Yeah. Is there a particular reason? Do they deploy to platforms that stuff like Unity and Unreal don't? The loot boxes. No, I don't think there'll be loot boxes. I mean, they make a lot of money. I don't really know. Maybe there will be loot boxes. See, I like things dropping on the ground. I don't know why. You know, if you're gonna like sell stuff, why not sell like an increased rate? You know, that sucks too, but why not sell like a potion that increase your rarity or some crap like that? Because then you still have to play the game to get something. With the loot boxes, you just pay money, click a button, and you get some loot. If you want to sell something, sell stuff that forces the players to still play the game. I think, you know, you got to make money as a business, but these loot boxes, they could be content in the game instead. I don't know. I don't want to complain about loot boxes forever. So if we've gotten to this point and we get in some sort of error and we've not created the result, so we don't need to do that. If we failed to create the session here, if you're interested in why I've got all these these checks for stuff, it means that another game server, because you know this isn't the only one. Not only is it not the only one, it's async. So on another thread, we could be processing a similar request for the same thing. Who knows what's happened? So really, you don't really know what's happened here. It's like a general server error. Shouldn't really encounter this because we've checked all this stuff up here. Something else is claimed or created a session, and we'll just fail them. Tell them they can't log in. You know, we don't really care what happened. There's nothing we could really do. We could try to query again and check what's going on with the database, but that's just a waste of performance. You know, we want to be servicing as many requests as possible, so we need to end this request because it's not going to go anywhere. That's the idea here. So we're almost at the end with a couple unimplemented things, and it looks like there's a lot of stuff here, but we have like a lot of space and comments. It's really quite short. It'll be like 15 lines. Okay, so if we've made it past here, we've created a session for them, it's inactive, then we actually... Okay, the default, the way that we're defaulting here is not good, because it's not handled properly yet. But this is actually successful here. And we'll tell them they're in zone 0, which is the default. And they'll actually ask where zone 0 is. So they'll send another request at some point to get the endpoint to that server. Yeah, I definitely do not like loot boxes either. For the latest updates and devlogs. See, like, I would do that, but just like I don't check the devlogs for the Python programming language, I'm not using Torque 3D for anything, and unless they support C#, I don't think I would ever use it. I'm very tied to Unity and .NET. If Unity didn't exist, I'd be using like XNA or a mono game or something. I mean, I'm sure it's an okay engine, but it seems like there's the big two like Unreal and Unity. A couple years ago, they both went free. So, I think they've kind of like won. Unless you have to target something very specific, like maybe you want to run on a TV or some shit, I don't know. Unity used to be able to run on a TV, I don't know which one. Okay, so I think we've handled most of the stuff here, but there is the case where they have a session, and it's inactive. So, I can't remember exactly how I wanted to handle this, but if they have a session and it's inactive, that means they're probably just logged out like in a dungeon, or they logged out in the world, because sessions don't go away in the world, you can rejoin them. And it might seem weird, but that's just the design I came up with, because when an instance or zone is removed, it cascades and deletes everyone's session who was in the instance still. And so, yeah, but if you're out in the world, then you'll always have a session, it'll just be inactive. And it might seem counterintuitive, but that was just the best way I could come up to handle this right now. So they'll reclaim this. And of course you could clean these up after a while, after a certain amount of time. You know, I'm thinking maybe at some point later the session might be related to something. I don't know, maybe clean them up after a certain amount of time. While they're logged in, maybe stuff could, while they're logged out, while they still have a session, maybe stuff could still happen. I don't know what that stuff is yet because there's no game here yet. I don't know. But yeah, that was just the way I came up with it. They will support C# with 4.0 release. Oh, that's cool. See, yeah, that's really my only requirement for a 3D engine. You have to support .NET or C#. Because I have all this stuff that I've written and all this stuff I've learned, and if I can't apply it to the tool that I have been using, then it's a waste of time. I gotta go use another tool that can get the job done. Oh, off topic? Oh, do you have something else? Now, I'm not trying to say Unity's the best thing ever. It's like if a company invested a bunch of money in something, you know, they'd want to use it. And that's me with C#, .NET, and Unity. A lot of the stuff I've written for emulation could use it anywhere else unless they support C#. That's cool. Let's see. Torque 3D C#. This was 2014. It'd be interesting to see what their design is. Oh, well, I mean, I don't think anybody, I mean, some people are, I guess. I see people in YouTube comments on, like, stuff, where they're like, oh my god, CryEngine's so great, but then, you know, CryEngine was so great, why did Crytek almost go bankrupt until Amazon bailed them out? You know, nobody was using that, and they had the worst licensing ever. That's the way I view things. I'm not like, oh man, look at that lighting, that's so nice. It's like, oh man, what language do I have to use? How's the asset import pipeline? How's the, you know, licensing? Well, how much is it going to cost me if I ever make something? Maybe they don't have too much. I don't know. I have to like poke around and try to find it. It's not even out yet, right? 4.0. There's no reason to look just yet. Yeah. That's why it's so funny when, you know, when people are like, "Oh man, CryEngine's the best." It's like, yeah, I mean, at one point it looked really nice, but nobody wants to use it because, you know, there's other tools that you can build something with much quicker. That's what I think is most important. Okay, so I think we've kind of got a handle here for stuff. So since have been a bit lazy and have not automated the testing for this stuff, we can go ahead and run it, and I'll open up Fiddler. And we can actually try to claim a session. Although I think this is not implemented. There's no implementations of this yet, so I have to create that first. I don't have one for the stupid location. Yeah, so if 4.0 comes out, I'll take a look, like, because if you're able to move stuff, like the projects that I have, like GladNet, they're not tied to Unity in any way. They're .NET C#. So if I'm able to move those to some other project or tool, that would be cool. I think more competition's good, but then it's like, what does it do that other things don't do yet? That's the only other question, really. Like, can you do something in Torque 3D that you can't do in Unreal or Unity right now? I guess I like the open source aspect of that, but I think Unity's slowly trying to move towards that. Okay, we have to implement this, and it shouldn't take that long to do. These are rather trivial. I wish someone wrote a tool to auto-generate all these repositories and stuff. I mean, it's great we have ORMs. You can go in later and write raw SQL if you need it, but wouldn't it be nice if I didn't have to write this as well? I think find async is the fastest, so we'll have to do it. This code isn't particularly interesting, it's just basic boilerplate ORM or entity framework crap. I guess you also want to check. See, one thing I always wonder, like, you're supposed to go exceptionless, but in the time between when you check, someone could insert and then, you know, it's invalid, so you'd have to create like a transaction. And is that better than generating an exception on the failed insert? Did I see the AI assisted coding? I did not, but I saw some. That explains a lot why I heard someone say a quote where they were like, someone from Microsoft on one of their subreddits for programming, they were like, AI is going to replace programmers or something like that. I don't know what it was exactly, and I was like, oh, I wonder why they're saying that. So I'll have to go see that. I already use tools to assist me, so if there's some sort of machine learning that could also assist me, I would not reject it. Let's see. Oh, here it was. I think I actually still have it open. We believe every developer will become an AI developer. You don't need to learn new programming languages. I guess they said that at some point, but I don't know where. I don't buy it. Maybe their shareholders do. I'm sure there's a lot of money. Some sort of tools that can help you do some static analysis. I don't really know. So one thing I want to know, and I do have to do some searching. Exception as well. Exception on insert versus transaction. Does a transaction even work? I think transactions are system-wide. Maybe they're not. Database is not my strong suit. But basically, I have to figure out. There's really no point to check. Why don't we make the expectation that someone's already checked that this will be valid? But again, there's race conditions. Some sort of request could have came into another server, and you know, in between these checks, it could be invalid now. Hey, here's someone asking basically the same question I'm asking here. Should you do transaction and then roll back, or should you just do an accept an exception will occur and then handle that with like a try block? That's probably better for performance, I guess. Because I think a transaction has to do some sort of locking. I don't know. I'll have to do some research off stream. Nobody wants to watch me learn. So we'll just assume that it's all dandy. And this is where the exception would happen when you go to actually save. And really, if it happens, what can you do about it? You're gonna have to tell the user that they can't log in anyway. So, not like you can do anything graceful. I guess you know what? Just return that. This can still throw, so, you know. I need to do a little bit more research on the best way to handle that. Speaking, devs at Ubisoft have an AI tool that does unit testing. Yeah, that could be actually pretty useful. Automated unit testing, there's a few projects going on for that. But the ones that I've seen, they're only able to like do basic inputs, like primitive inputs, like integers and stuff like that. I don't think they've come up with ways to do some mocking. Now, how's the AI gonna know, oh, I should mock this service and check and see if this was called and the data's come out over here? I can't fathom that. I don't think we'll be there too soon. LaForge. I'll go check it out. Oh, there's a video. I like that. Why don't we take a look? Is there a GDC video? Ubisoft GDC AI. Oh, maybe just a blog post. Okay, so yeah, this is similar to like if you're familiar with the Waifu 2X, where you give it a whole bunch of data, it's able to build like a model, and it gets a sort of an idea of how something might look in certain situations. So they're doing that with pictures, they're doing it with 3D real-time rendering, and I guess they're also now doing it with AI, which I guess that makes sense. But that won't really help you write code. You can clean up stuff like this, yeah. What's this? Additionally, increasing realistic locomotion animations. Are they using AI to generate the actual animation, or is this just IK? Kinda just looks like IK, maybe? I don't know. But that's pretty cool. Yeah, I guess you can like teach something to walk and you might get like a unique walk animation. And just record the keyframes from there. That'd be interesting. But if this is just done with voice, that's pretty interesting, because that's pretty good. Self-driving cars. That would be interesting if like stuff like GTA, they were all a little bit more realistic. That could be cool. That sounds computationally expensive to do, though. Have a whole bunch of cars instead of just following like a little path. I don't see anything about programming here. I guess I'll have to check the Microsoft thing. I don't have the tools, the data, or really the knowledge of machine learning to do this stuff. And I just don't see the pragmatic use right now for games. Or at least writing the software aspect of it. Like the art stuff is cool. I would love to just be able to do some motion capture stuff and have it be nice and clean and bring it into a game. I'd buy a motion capture suit. I wasn't broke. There's some cinematics I wanted to make with motion capture. So that's pretty cool. That's how Otoy was doing their real-time ray tracing. Otoy AI real-time ray tracing. Let's see if I can find the part in the video that happens. Here it is.
Sort of angst was the
AI denoising that they're working on.
Not denoised version, and this is denoised, 10 samples, pretty good. Remember, this is only 10 samples, 50 samples without the denoiser, and 50 samples with the denoiser animated. And this is near real time, which is pretty exciting. So at 200 samples, which we've actually never run through the denoiser until this test, it's pretty clear at 200, but it's still kind of noisy, but with the denoiser, it looks perfect. So that saves us the trouble of going to 2,000 or 20,000 samples. And AI is obviously something that saves us time and cost, and certainly gets us closer towards real-time path tracing, but there's so many use cases that we see.
So that's something I am very interested in, because real-time ray tracing is going to be like when we got the physically based rendering in video games. When we started to hit those crazy poly counts, it felt like a revolution compared to stuff like on the PlayStation 1. And I think this will be like the next jump. And we're almost there. I mean, I'm not almost there. But someone else is, and I'll just use what they did. I'll use their work. Yeah, it was cool when I saw that, and maybe we'll see that in a few years. Okay, so there's lots of holes and potential failures in the code that we just wrote, but we know about some of them. So I guess we're okay, and I'll implement everything I needed to here. And we need to do the rest. We don't need to do delete right now, but we can do that later. Okay, we'll assume again that the users check that it actually exists, and we'll just load it. It's pretty simple, doesn't even need to be async, or awaited rather. Then we need to do this one. This one's a little bit more complicated. We can actually do the same check and throw here. This one also doesn't need to actually be awaited, but so character sessions, if we have any, and is there an any async? Yeah, any async session where the session is active and session account ID is equal to the account ID. Okay, so that works. There we go, and then we wrote our database code, queries, whatever. Then we just have to register this service next to the other ones. of wondering if you could. I know it's transient. Yeah, it's fine like that because we need a new database context every time. But I was wondering if the database context is shared per request or per instance of this. Because I think it does some caching, which would be nice. Oh, a session, yeah. I don't know, I kind of spaced out. Okay, so now we could probably run this and create a session. I think. Yeah, you can actually use Otoy's Octane in Unity right now. You can't do the real time that they showed right there, but you can actually set up scenes and do some rendering. I think I have a video of that actually. I'll pull that up. I don't think it's public. Did I record a video? I think I made it unlisted. I don't see it, so maybe not. It would have been after. It would have been after this at some point, and I don't see it. Oh, it's just something from World of Warcraft and Old War. Okay, so this compiled. I have no idea if it's gonna work. Let's try to run it. It's so weird. My request log's missing. Maybe it's because I crashed last time. That kind of sucks. That means I do not have the. That means I don't have the key. I need to get a new auth token. Okay, I'll boot up all the servers real quick. Just need to connect and get the token. Okay, then these can go away. I can't remember. I think it's authorization? Bearer. Could be authorized. I can't remember right now. Okay, so it'll be API character session. Enter. Identity application was not authenticated. Maybe I've got it wrong. That looks right. I lost all the logs for my old requests, which would have made this a lot easier. Yeah, so it's enter, provide an ID. That's weird. Yeah, it says we're not authenticated. I spelled bearer wrong? That looks the same. Yeah, so it looks correct unless the signature's wrong, which it shouldn't be. Am I not supposed to put a space there? That's weird. Sorry, this probably sucks now. Oh, good morning. You know, that's a good question. I don't really know. I'm just building the general back-end services that you might have for a multiplayer game or an MMO right now. I honestly don't know what it's gonna be. I'm gonna work on something, but most games all share a lot of services in common. They're online, so that's just what I'm working on right now. There's a couple things I want to play around with. I definitely want to do something similar to RS, where you have all these like skills and stuff. Seems easy to implement something like that, and then keep adding, you know, different types of logs for wood cutting. You know, you don't have to do so much to support something like that. I want to have something like that, I guess. I don't know. I haven't really thought of it to do this stuff first. Okay, that didn't change anything. We're still not authenticated for some reason. I'm positive I've got this typed right. Oh, look at that. Yeah, we're missing the signature. I don't think it copied the whole thing. Or maybe it did. Because that looks the same. Oh my god. That was the problem this whole time. Why was it saying it wasn't authenticated? That makes a lot of sense. Forgot it was a post, but I don't know why it wasn't telling me it was authenticated, because I was. Definitely was saying that in the logs. Very odd. I have to compile this with local config. Sorry, yeah, it was something simple, something very dumb. I was sending, not only did I compile it with the wrong config, but I also was sending it as a GET instead of a post. It said auth was failing, that's why I didn't think to check the HTTP method. Yeah, I would, wait, I know you. You make Spyro music. Luke, right? You make Spyro music, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe that's someone else. Your name looks very familiar. If that's not you, then I'm sorry. But yeah, right now it's just like most MMOs have some back-end services that they share in common, like authentication, serverless, session creation, stuff like that, social stuff like friends list. So I'm working on all that stuff right now because I don't know what it's going to be right now. And I was working on a bunch of emulation, like if you're familiar with Phantasy Star Online. I've been doing a bunch of crap with that and reverse engineering that sort of game in Unity. And I was like, you know what, I'm sick of working on this, someone else's idea from 2000. Not that I don't like PSO, but it's just like Sega did some weird stuff that I don't want to sit there every day and try to figure out how and why they did it. So I just want to work on something. I have no idea what it's going to be. Yeah, you make some great stuff. I think I used one of your songs. I can't remember if I asked you. If I didn't, I apologize. In one of the Spyro videos I uploaded while I was making some tools for Unity and Spyro for like a week or something. I knew the trilogy was probably going to come out, but it wasn't a for sure thing, and I was like, you know what, maybe these tools will contribute to some sort of remake at some point for somebody. But now the trilogy is being remastered, so there's no point now. But yeah, I like your music. I think there's a Crash Bandicoot song. Or is that somebody else? Oh man, it's hard to remember. Music. Oh, sorry. Crash Bandicoot. I definitely listen to this song. YouTube telling me that. But I could swear there was a Crash Bandicoot one that I listened to. Hang on, Snail, I'm gonna play you. I don't know if you played Spyro or Crash, but oh, I see you've got Dark Hollows. See, I've listened to that as well. Yeah, I like these. These are really good. I'll pull this one up. Dark Hollow is one of my favorites. I heard the PS4 theme. The PS4 theme, Dark Hollows for the Spyro trilogy. And it didn't sound as good as the original. I love this level, it's one of my favorites. Oh shit. Knocked my mouse off my desk. See, that's really good right there. I heard someone else remake Dark Hollow, and I don't know how to describe it perfectly musically, but they didn't like the da na na na. They didn't like accent the first note. It all felt the same, and it sounded very off when they did that. But that sounded very good. I like this. One of my favorite songs from Spyro. But dun, dun. Okay, I can't remember if I compile this. I think I did, so it should work now. Hopefully. It's possible it was just like the theme. They might not be done with the soundtrack. The game might not be finished, so it could just be the PS4 theme. Maybe it was just a simplified version of it. Who knows? I don't know. Not like I have inside information. Snam, you've seen that they're remaking Spyro, right? Okay, let's send this stupid request. It should work. Or we should get something. Oh, I got an error. Character repository was null. Oh, I can never remember if I actually have to put this attribute here for these. This is where you'd go write a unit test, you know, to make sure you have this stuff and cover it for future regressions, but I am lazy right now. Yeah, it was so cool. I was so excited. My brother has a PS4. I mean, it'll be a year or so before it's out, probably. So you've got some time. Oh, it's going to be cross-platform, not just PS4. It's for Xbox as well. And maybe the Switch? I can't remember. It's also for Xbox, though. Oh, I think I have this in a video from a long time ago. Some Spyro thing. Or was it this? I can't remember. Sounds so nice. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun. How is it known? Oh, look at see the ReSharper is great, but it didn't generate the right code here. Because I didn't write this code that you see here. I generated it with ReSharper. I must have changed the case of something at some point. Look at that! I didn't write this code, I swear to you. I generated it with a ReSharper. Let me show you. I deleted it, and I'll go ahead and generate it again. So I must have made a mistake there somehow. And then I generated this. This way you write codes, never write it. I don't know how that became a capital. I literally did not write that code. Oh yeah, sure. You know, I have no idea what it's going to be, but it'll be... I just have no idea what it'll be. If you want to compose stuff at some point, like, I'm not sure where the project's going to go. That's why I try not to like rope anybody else into these ideas that I have, because they're all very long-term projects, and you know, software projects themselves have like a 40% failure rate. Not mine, just in general. Like if you go look at the statistics, so I feel bad to rope someone into something. and I just have no idea where it's gonna go. But that would be pretty cool. I think an open source community created MMO would be interesting. There was a little something I put together as a prototype. If you're familiar with VR chat, let me show you. There was something I threw together over a couple days, which was a prototype for something like VR chat. I made a little video of it. I think an MMO with user-generated content is one of the main things that can make MMOs more possible, because one of the biggest problems is the content creation side. You know, you can write some code, add a feature, and then that feature itself could require hundreds or thousands of hours of, you know, artist content creation time, or, you know, you have to maybe compose some music, create some art, create some UI elements, you know, but the code maybe only took a few hours to write. MMOs get to that point. I don't know why this is lagging. Yeah, I'm not sure why this is lagging, but okay, I guess I should show you. So we just uploaded. Let me back up. So we just uploaded this level that you see right here in Unity. So the idea is you have users create content, then you'd upload it. And right here we have it up in Amazon S3. This was just thrown together in a couple of days, so you know, it's not a finished thing. And then we've got, I don't know why the audio keeps cutting out. The video's fine if you go see it. And then we're actually able to load that in the client. And this is done with actual Unity asset bundles, and it's the same thing that VRChat does. How they're able to you're able to upload maps. You upload them to S3 as well in VRChat, and that's how you actually load them. They distribute the asset bundles when you try to like enter a world. And you can see that this wasn't sent with the client. It's just downloaded as an asset bundle and loaded. So you could have like user created content in an MMO, you know. I think that's something that could be interesting. Oh, we need some music. Sounds awkward. Thank you, Any Keys. Yeah, that, I wouldn't say it's a port of Trinity Core, but it was written mostly for client emulation at first, but you can also do server emulation, which I was doing a tiny bit the other day. I think there's a video on it. I'm not sure. Can't remember. But yeah, thank you. You can go ahead and use it. I think it's one of the better libraries out there for packets for C# and WoW. You know, it never got finished. It's still not finished. I'm gonna finish it one day. Just very busy with all this other stuff. Yeah, most projects do fail, you know, or are unfinished or delivered late. That's just software development in general, I think. Yeah, mods are very popular. Game that gives games life. There's the Mangos client, which someone wrote. I don't know if it has any rendering or anything. There's also it's called WoW's. Yeah, that's not what I'm looking for. Pull up a video. This project's promising, but it's written in JS, so, which is cool. But if it ran in Unity, it could also run in the browser, and then it could target other platforms as well. So it's pretty good. He's got the like static geometry, like the ADT tiles. He's loading them and rendering them. He's got the M2s these fences and stuff, he can load those in. I think it's pretty cool, but I wouldn't have done it in JavaScript though. I don't know if he's got the WMOs. I haven't seen a building yet. I can't remember what some of the trees are. I think they're M2s. So yeah, this is pretty neat, and supposedly it works. I don't know if there's any networking. I can't remember. Is this the client? Oh yeah, there's a WMO. It's pretty neat. I think I would love to actually work with him, but I think I talked to him once in a comment before, and don't think he has interest in coming to Unity. I mean, I'd help him port this stuff if he wanted to. But yeah, it's definitely super cool. I just like, it just feels like I wouldn't have picked JavaScript and WebGL. That's my opinion. I don't think, well, it is quite a challenge, but I'm sure he's going to continue with it. I think he's still actively developing it, so I don't think it was just one of those. Where is it? I think there's still activity on this. Let's see. Oh no, there's no activity. Maybe in another branch. No, maybe it's not being actively worked on. Well, now that Blizzard's redoing WoW in some fashion for Classic, even working on something like this, it's kind of like the same thing with Spyro. Like, somebody's working on it now professionally, you know, with billions of dollars. They're gonna do better. So I can see the motivation's kind of dwindled. Oh, the glitter's active? It could have been the... I guess I'll keep looking. The only other client that I knew of was the Mango's client. I don't know how I'd find it. Thought it would pop up. To Warcraft. Mango's client. GitHub. I don't think it's under the organization. Yeah, it's not. It's on GitHub somewhere. Can't think of where. I'm gonna find this because it's gonna bother me. Maybe it's C Mango's client. I might have started it. I can check. Oh, here's one that's in C#, but this is from someone else. I know it's in some of the it's in some of the comments I mention it, so maybe I'll be able to find it if I search Mango's here. Here it is, here it is. I did link to it. I don't know who contributed this. No, not Sharon's not here. Yeah, I'm not sure. You'll have to show me. Oh, is Sharon a she? I thought it was a dude. Not that I really care, but oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, you were the one who's talking about the Guild Wars emulator, right? It's a lot of reverse engineering, and even if all the information is available, like for example World of Warcraft, it's still a monumental effort. That's why you've got all these unfinished emulator projects for WoW. Trinity Core is still technically unfinished, and it's been worked on for years by hundreds, maybe even thousands of people. So it's a huge undertaking. I can't think of any client that's gotten too far. They had their server library uploaded? What, like the source? Yeah, there's a lot of cool projects. If you do want to do Guild Wars 2, I do recommend .NET C#. If you want to make the client, Unity's great. You can use GladNet 3. It works for servers and clients. No compiled, but they fixed it. Interesting. Interesting. Was it like C, C++? Was it just this like assembly, or was it something like a .NET assembly where you could actually see what was going on? It was reflection. Because that would be pretty meaningful. It should work now. Oh, you don't have it? Oh, shit. Yeah, that's one thing. Definitely want to get your hands on that. Could save you weeks or months. I think, you know, I've only done a few months of World of Warcraft emulations. I'm not any authority, but I would have to say all emulation seems to be a monumental undertaking. And you'd have to do the reverse engineering, you have to do the software engineering. And sometimes you can do one and not the other. Depends on your skill set. It's just, and it would take a long time. Trinity Core has been going on for years. And just think back to a few years ago, most RAS servers sucked. They didn't work that well. Classic still isn't perfectly working either, and that's been out even longer. And there's so many people working on this stuff, and there's money involved. There's money, and that's motivates people even more. That's why World of Warcraft works so well compared to other game emulators. There was money involved. And it still doesn't completely work. Okay, we hit the database, and then we failed. Object reference not set to an instance of an object. That's never fun. Line 20 of the session repository. Alright, if you gotta reload, I'll be here for a little while longer. Line 20. Is pretty weird. We did do some queries here and they didn't fail. line 20 is this. We're comparing. It shouldn't be null. I mean, this should be null if it doesn't find anything. Doesn't make much sense. I mean, what would be causing the null reference exception? We gotta do some debugging. Sadly. I don't normally debug, but this seems kind of weird because the context isn't null. Oh, it is null. I'm an idiot. I am an idiot. Static analysis should have let me know that, but I need to have better like tools for that. Let me know that. I should have known. I should have known. That was very dumb. ReSharper was trying to warn me too. There was a squiggle under there. That was very dumb. That's what happens when you write code at 4 AM. Oh yeah, those browsers. Those browsers can use a lot. Oh yeah, I think writing software is interesting. And if you don't know too much about writing code, you can always check it out. Okay, so you can always start, writing software. You can get into it. A few years ago, I didn't know how to write anything. So right now, it is open source, but not intentionally, because I had to be open source for AppVeyor to be free. AppVeyor is a continuous build service, so I needed to build on AppVeyor, and then AppVeyor deployed it to Amazon AWS for me. I used to have this all continuous deployment on AWS, and then it started to cost me money, so I had to turn it all off. That was only a couple days ago. So right now it is all open source. I don't know if it'll stay open source. Almost all the stuff I've done is open source, so this will probably end up open source. But I don't know, maybe this will end up being an actual game. It'll make money, I don't know. Maybe it'll still be open source then, I don't know. Yeah, man, I don't know. Like, that sounds like a lot of work to do Guild Wars 2. You'd have to be on the forefront of the reverse engineering. Like, I'm not a reverse engineer. I build stuff to specification. And for World of Warcraft, there happened to be a specification. Like, the packets were mostly known. The behavior was known. And so I started to build that. And then Blizzard actually released some information at GDC about how they did serialization, so that was known, so I started to write tools for that. But I'm actually not a reverse engineer. I've reverse engineered a few fields and some packets for Phantasy Star Online that were unknown, but aside from that, like, I don't know. I wouldn't know where to start with that. But yeah, all this stuff's open source for now. It wasn't intended to be. Like I said, it's just because I don't want to pay any money. It might stay open source, and at that point I'll start to fill out the README a bit better. Okay, this time for real. This time for real's gotta work. I don't know what would hold us back. Okay, send the request, bunch of queries, still got an error. Cannot add or update a child row of 4 key constraint fails. Okay, so that's a good thing. Sounds like a bad thing, but that's actually a good thing. That's because we don't have a zone. It's trying to put us in zone 0 right now. So we'll just create a little zone right here. And now it should actually complete. So, because you guys might be slightly interested in what's about to happen, we should actually get a session here when I do this. And it should happen quite quickly because entity frameworks are compiled. Alright, we got another error. Holy crap, that's so long. I can't even see where the beginning. Foreign key constraint fails. Constraint character sessions zone ID. That seems weird. We've got a zone endpoint now. Oh, I'll put us in zone 1. That's why. Okay. I don't know why the database did that. I clearly typed 0. Hey, we got a response. We got zone ID 0, result code 0. Golden. And now we should actually have a session. See, we got a session. I should probably check this constraint because there isn't actually a pair that exists like this. And now if we try to do it again, it'll actually still succeed because it's an unclaimed session. Oh no, we got an error, great. Duplicate entry for key AK character. Oh, I thought I checked that. There should be a check for that. Happens. Async stack traces are a real pain. Trying to find out where it happens. I can't tell. Guild Wars 2 game connection is encrypted with RC4. Will send and receive directions start with the same key. That's what World of Warcraft does for the headers. They use RC4N. Or no, wait, maybe that was PSO. I think, yeah. WoW uses ARC4 for headers, and they actually use the initialization for the for that is actually the session key, I think. Yeah. You can start a Patreon. Yeah, that's one thing that nobody really sells that works, but people have started to offer like DevOps services. You know, you have stuff like AWS, you have stuff like PlayFab and Photon, and they all sell services. I don't think I could really sell services. I'd probably keep it open source and have it for free. I don't think it's good enough to charge people. Maybe one day. Gotta get it to work first. Not too worried about that. Yeah, that's quite the project to take on, but if you can find a team, you know, you might get somewhere. It takes so long, like you could spend days and days, months on just like one packet. And Guild Wars 2 is not done yet. Like, they're gonna change stuff, and that could really fuck you over. Depending on what you're working on. It's like a moving target. Like, they probably won't change a lot, but they could still make some changes. Sorry, my chair's a little squeaky. Okay, so the reason there's an error here, I thought we did. Let's go through the logic again. If we have a session, we get the session. It's active, we tell them they can't enter because it's already active. It's non-active, we tell them what zone they should go to. If account has an active session, then we never do an insert. Because we actually do a check here. Account has active session. We give it the account ID. Account has active session. Character sessions. If any, oh, we also check if sessions are active. But we can't constrain account ID, can we? Oh, that's gonna have to change our schema. Because you want to be able to like, okay, let me describe the use case for this. Okay, so imagine you're in a World of Warcraft dungeon and you log out and you log on your other character, you move around or something, and you're in another dungeon on there or whatever, and you log out. So you want to maintain both those sessions while the instance is open, so that when you log back into the other one, you're in the same position in the instance. At least that's what I think is preferable. But if you can't create multiple sessions with the same account ID, then that means you can't do that. You don't want to tell them they can't log in, so you have to either delete the session or remove the uniqueness constraint on the account ID. Okay, so or you could change the character. No, you can't do that. Yeah, I think we need to change the schema, which I'll show you how we do that with Entity Framework, I guess. So we go to our session model, which models the data table. We have an account ID, which is fine, we'll leave that there. So we need to make it not an alternate key, so it will no longer be unique. We should enforce that the character ID and account ID at some point match the character. I don't know how to do that yet. We no longer have a uniqueness constraint here. So that active sessions or inactive sessions from multiple characters on the account can exist. And like I said, basically it's like you want to preserve some session specific details just in case they rejoin. They could disconnect, they could have disconnected, they could have logged on another character, and you want to maintain their positions in these transient instances like dungeons. The only way to do that is to maintain some session information so that you know what instance they're in, and then their location will of course show you their position and stuff. Okay, so Update migrations. Add migration. Remove uniqueness. Account ID on session. This is why I like any framework. Don't have to write any SQL until you need to. Oh no, I was on the wrong config. So how will we be able to define? Yeah. See, I'm not sure exactly yet. I don't have that written. There's you could do it a couple ways. You could just have it be invisible and slice it up. You know, by meters or something, by units, and not have to place anything. So that would be done automatically. That might be the best case scenario, and I think that's might be what I do. Alternatively, I could write like a Unity 3D editor extension that generates the tiles, I guess. I'm not sure exactly how I'll do yet. It's definitely going to be tile based. I think it would be best for it to be automatic, like behind the scenes. And maybe you could configure like the width and maybe like a tool to do the visualization. That'd probably be best. Having to hand place them seems like a bad idea. And of course, it'd be okay to have tiles covering nothing because empty tiles would just be unused, unlooked at. That seems like the best way to do it. Essentially an invisible grid which you can control the size of. They'll be squares. Okay, added a migration, update database. If error in your SQL syntax, check the manual with corresponds. For the right syntax to use, constraint AK account. This library for Entity Framework Core and MySQL does not work properly. Sometimes. Account ID. Okay, foreign keys. Okay, it was never a foreign key, but it was an index. I mean, I could just constraint AK. There's probably an issue on Pomelo. That's what it's called. Yeah, strap constraint. MySQL does not support AK yet. Yeah, well, it definitely does now. So this is out of date. Do I use a migration drop index? Please use has index is unique. I must have botched something. Doesn't support has index is unique. Okay, that's what you're supposed to do for MySQL. Yeah, it's an unfinished thing. There's not much I can do here. So, I didn't really want to do this, but I have to erase these. Well, I guess I don't. I can undo that. Oh crap. I never committed those. Oh well, yeah, I'll just delete those. I don't like doing this because I wanted to keep a whole list of all the changes to the database. But I can't do that if there's issues with the migrations because of this partially unimplemented crap from Pomelo. Pomelo, yeah, I think that's what you call it. Kinda sucks. Yeah, it's a MySQL implementation of Entity Framework Core. Also Entity Framework 2, I think. But it's not complete yet. So there's stuff that doesn't work sometimes. Okay, add update database. So this should push up the changes. Actually, it might just break. So I have to drop the whole database. Oh, you know what? I should fix that. Well, it's not really a fix. They say that you should use this, so I should probably link that. I should do the workaround. Has index is unique. Okay, so that should do it. Which sucks because I'll have to remember that. Okay, we can regenerate the database now. I've had all sorts of problems with this lately. For example, timestamp generation didn't work properly. It was a workaround to use. Instead of the date time, you have to use this timestamp type. And now this, or whatever. Okay, so we don't have any data anymore. Haven't been very good on my commits. Got all this diff here. Ah, crap. Alright, so now we could potentially have multiple sessions, but only one active from the same account. And that is a potential area where you could encounter race conditions, where you might have someone who's, you know, got two clients running, they're able to log in with both, select 2 different characters on their account, and while their sessions are active or they're claimed, you know, they get claimed at the same time. You could end up with a race condition where, so the only way to do that is to only set an active session and accept it, while at the same time checking to see that there's no other account ID with it being active. So you'd have to do like some locking or something. Not a database expert. So there definitely is a race condition here, but it's good to know about those. It's much better to know them than not know that they're there. Because then you can put them on the agenda to solve one day. Okay, so this should add a session for character 1. So we should have a session here now. Oh, we didn't? Result code 2. What does that mean? Result code 2 is invalid character error. That can happen if we're not authenticated, which we were, or character ID is if we're authenticated and the character ID is greater than 0, and we know about the character ID and the account ID matches the claim. That's what's probably not true. See, that's the protection. It prevented us from trying to log into a character that the account doesn't have an authorization for. I can't remember exactly. This might be 2. Account 2. Can't remember. So now if we send that same request, we shouldn't get an error, I don't think. And it should add the session. Okay, again, that's another expected error. Because we were looking for zone 0 and it didn't exist. So now it should be okay. We got okay, code 0, zone 0, and we should have a session here. That account ID doesn't look right. Pretty sure that's not right. And this again is where you'd write another unit test with some mocking stuff to cover these cases. So you definitely do need. Why did I put zone ID? I have to also have the account ID. Account ID, character ID. Okay, so That should work now. I think I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and just turn the music up and write some... Oh, have a question. Does tile-based area of interest work 3D space? Can it track objects on the z-axis? That depends on how you want to implement it. For example, you can have it so that a lot of games won't really have like, you know, like really high buildings or something. But if you did have a high building, you'd probably want to take the z distance in consideration. And then in that case, you'd want to use cubes. You'd want to turn your entire game into cubes. But, for example, in World of Warcraft, I don't know how they do it in WoW, but I think you can see people on the ground if you're in the tile that they're in, which is the desired behavior, because you'd want to see people below you, even if you're really high up. But maybe in your game you don't want to. And then it becomes just a little bit more complex, because you can't just use tiles, you have to use cubes. You can use logical cubes, determine whether or not someone's in a cube or not, and you can set like an offset for the start. So you could shift the cubes up a little bit so that they're kind of like on the ground level. But then you run into weird issues where you would probably want to be able to control those a bit more. Definitely probably want to control the cubes placement, because if you don't, then you could have overlaps where there's only like a few inches of a cube that you're standing in, if you can visualize that. So I would think you'd want to be able to manually place those or control those in some way. If you can get away with just using 2D tiles, I would recommend that. If you absolutely need to occlude things that are above you with interest, maybe don't use the tile-based approach, because I don't think a cube-based approach would really work that well. You might want to go with the radius approach, but then it has all the drawbacks that I was talking about earlier. So you have to make a bunch of decisions, really. What the heck? We're checking if there's a character that exists. We shouldn't have duplicate errors. Yeah, there's definitely a character with character ID 1. Oh crap! This is all wrong. This checks session ID. Which honestly, we could probably remove session ID and make the character ID the primary key. But then indexing is kind of weird. I don't know if it's okay to really have the primary key also be a foreign key. It is perfectly fine to use the foreign key if the primary key is the table's connected to a one-to-one relationship. Huh, okay. Foreign keys almost always allow duplicates. And there's definitely a one-to-one relationship. You never want to have multiple sessions for a character. So I think just having that session ID field doesn't really give us anything. And actually what's causing the issue is looking up character ID by as if it was the session ID. That's what that does right there. So we could probably drop that off of the table as well. Also needs to be the key. We literally never reference it anyway. So that was just garbage. So let's see if we can do a migration for that. Yeah, let me link interest management overview. Photon used to link to this paper. It's possible that one of the guys at Photon wrote this. Most of these would be very hard to implement. I'd be surprised if they ever scaled. Yeah, so there's like a survey right there. Tiles popular, radius based is popular. I don't think anybody uses anything else really. Okay, so we need to add a database migration. Add migration, remove session ID. I have no idea if I can remove the primary key like this and not have things fall apart. Update database. Gonna have data loss again probably. At least. I might have to drop the database again though. Apply migration. It's hanging here. It looks like it's hanging, but I don't know why. It looks like it worked though. Just kind of frozen here now though. it was just so nice to think that you could have this nice history of migrations, but if they break in between migrations and they're incompatible and they can't update the database, then they're worthless. Almost makes me not want to use MySQL. I can't afford a license for all that other crap. Try to run the update one more time, but it looks like it went through. So dumb. I'm gonna have to drop the database again. The migrations just don't work. Cockroach DB? Well, I have to use something that AWS supports. I would prefer to use their managed RDS service. Which doesn't support that many, which is MySQL and a few others. I definitely don't think they support whatever that is. I've not heard of that. And it's just the tooling for Entity Framework Core and MySQL. It's not MySQL itself. It's just the tooling is not working for the scaffolding of Entity Framework Core. Which honestly, I could just create the database by hand, but I kind of like the scaffolding and migrations because it maintains the history, but it doesn't if you have to constantly delete it because stuff doesn't work, which I have to do right now. It'd be a whole disaster if you actually had any data to try to maintain. But yeah, I actually have to use what Amazon supports. Oh, it's a version of. Oh yeah, see, it doesn't. I have to use what AWS provides. If it's the database engine behind the MySQL, that's great. I'm sure it's good, but the tooling here will still not work. It's not the. It's the tooling that's the problem. That isn't written by. It's maintained by like the community. And it's rather new. Entity Framework Cores 2.0 is new. Stuff just doesn't work properly. And I have to use what Amazon supports, which supports just MySQL. And I don't know how it would work with CockroachDB or something like that. Because when it comes down to it, the database can be the bottleneck, most likely. Because the application servers can scale their stateless and stuff. The database is going to be what slows stuff down. And scaling out a database is more difficult. So I prefer AWS do it. Yeah, it's the Entity Framework Core tooling. At least the MySQL one, which is like community maintained. So what happens is you create these things called migrations, and it takes a look at these classes that you create. You put attributes on them, and what it does is it takes a look at them and determines what it needs to do. Generate a model, and then behind the scenes you'll generate the raw SQL that maintains a snapshot. So this is the current snapshot of the model. This is everything. And if you make changes, what it does is it maintains an up and a down. So if you want to go up, it tells you what you have to do to go from the last migration to the current one. If you want to go down, it tells you what you have to do to go back to the older migration. Which here would be drop every table. I kind of like that sort of system. If it worked, you'd have hundreds of migrations. Not now, but you could have hundreds of migrations. You have a history of the database schema in code. And if you ever needed to revert, you could probably go the opposite direction and generate models, class models for them as well from the old migrations. I think it's a cool system. It also makes querying pretty easily. You have to write raw SQL. But when it doesn't work, it kind of sucks. Now I gotta add all this stupid test data back to the database. Character 1, account 2, test. Okay, now we should be able to run this, and all the paths should hopefully work. We're so close to being able to hop off all these stupid web services. Start building the actual Unity 3D server instance. We're not quite there yet. We have to be able to claim sessions and then connect to the zone server. Then we'll have to do some session logic over there too. Maybe a couple days. But yeah, this should work now. You should be able to have multiple inactive sessions for multiple characters on an account, but only one active one. Although there is that race condition. Gotta worry about that. I think that could be handled with a query transaction to do more research. Okay, so we run this. Really hope this works. Okay, we got success. So we should have a session in here now, and it should be inactive. So we're gonna add another character. Alright. And we'll try to create a session on him too. Well, we encountered all sorts of problems. Duplicate key? For zone ID? Zone ID is not supposed to be unique. It's a foreign key, but it's not supposed to be unique. Oh, it said it's unique? What the heck? Oh, see, the way that I set up the relationship here, foreign key. So, character entry should be 1-to-1. Has one zone entry. But multiple zones could have, a zone could have multiple sessions. I think we do a with many. I think. Use a relationship where this entity type has a reference that points to a single instance of the other type in its relationship. I need to make sure I've got this the right order. I had no idea we were introducing a uniqueness constraint there. Okay, the fluent, where is the fluent? Okay, so a post has one blog. Post has one blog, so has one makes sense there. With many posts. With many, but we don't have a navigation property. Okay. So foreign key. Zone ID. Okay, so that should work, I think. Change session. I don't know. Oh yeah, I have to change config. Does this make sense? Right? A session only points to one zone, but a zone could be involved in many sessions. That way we can do some queries later at another point to be able to query who's in what zone. At least, like region, like large, like what instance. That's why we actually use relationships here for the future. Okay, I don't know if this is right, but the schema should, the column should not have changed. So this should be okay. There shouldn't be any data loss. Cannot drop index need in a foreign key constraint. Is there an update? Update index? So it's complaining that we're dropping here. The migration's broken. Again. It's not my fault. Drop index. Really annoying. What if we tried to not drop it? I don't even know if that'd work. We basically just don't want it to be unique. That's it. Maybe I can write this myself and get it to work. I've never tried. No, there's no like alter index. Okay, maybe I can do the raw SQL. Remove unique constraint from index. This is stupid. You're not supposed to have to manually fix the migrations. Oh, you gotta go? Yeah, I'm probably gotta go too soon. You have a good day. I'll catch you another time. I'll try to stream at another point. Thanks for watching, man. Hope you had a good time. I'll see you around, man. Should not have to do this, but no, even the raw SQL says to do it like that. But it definitely failed. I try to run it again. Let's see what Pamela says. It's not like I have much data. Is it really worth it? Alter table. Drop foreign key. So instead of dropping, I think we can do that. But I have no idea what to do to go down. Oh, we could drop it again and then create it maybe? That might work. I'll be surprised if this works. Check that the column key exists. Okay, I guess you can't use index. So, ID. We gotta find the initial create. This is for character sessions. So I have to add the column back. It's an int 11. This is so dumb. I swear. This doesn't work. This is more hassle than it's worth. They really gotta figure this MySQL any framework core out because it just does not work properly. Migrations just break, like you can't change stuff. This doesn't work. Try to change the uniqueness on a foreign key, breaks. Try to you can add alternate keys to MySQL, but you can't remove them. You have to use some sort of workaround. There's all sorts of things you can do, and it just breaks in between migrations. So dumb. You're losing like half the benefit of any framework core by having to delete migrations, drop the damn database. Just a waste of time too. Just kind of sucks. Just a waste of time. I should automate this to add some test data. Just with some big long query. Okay, we've got some characters. We have a zone. We have no sessions. If there was a tool where I could write raw SQL and also map it to an object, I'd work with that. That'd be fine, I guess. Wouldn't have to deal with this crap. Go ahead and mute my mic and just play music for now.
After the things you said to me.